This is the top 10 worst fighters in MMA. Number 10. Bob Sapp. Once feared for his huge size and ability to overpower his opponents, Bob Sapp is now one of the biggest jokes in MMA. He has lost his last 12 fights in a row, mostly by tapping out to strikes. He has been criticized for throwing fights and clearly has mental issues.
If we're going to have a normal conversation, I'm happy to have it, but I'm not here to have a silly one where you're making voices.
Oh my goodness, what's going on? If you never liked him, never put him on the show, that's what you're saying, and what you're saying it on your show. What? Huh? I'm confused. No, I'm not, but I'm sure of it. Yes, I'm sure.
Now I get it, and I hope, Bob, that you get the help. You're insane,
right
Bob.
now.
Bob, you've lost your mind.
Number 9. Sean Salmon.
Wow, no style points on that one, Sean.
Sean Salmon was 9-1 when he first came to the UFC. His first fight was against Ultimate Fighter winner Rashad Evans. Sean held his own and was arguably winning the fight until Rashad connected with one of the most brutal head kicks ever seen in MMA. Sean went on a decline after the loss and has lost his last 12 fights in a row. Number 8. Ross Poynton. During the Ultimate Fighter Season 3, Ross Poynton showed an incredible lack of skill, but also showed the will to fight anyone at any time. He lost to Kendall Grove by submission, but after Matt Hamill was injured, Poynton stepped up and fought Michael Bisping.
So what do you think? If you had the opportunity to fight again now?
Yeah, definitely, man.
What if it was at 205 pounds?
Yeah, definitely. Let's get it on, man.
Poynton was TKO'd early in the fight. He was still offered a fight on the Ultimate Fighter finale where he was choked out by Rory Singer. Ross currently has 6 wins and 17 losses. Number 7. Elvis Sinosic. There are some fighters whose only purpose is to make other fighters look good. Elvis Sinosic is one of those fighters. Elvis won his first UFC fight against submission specialist Jeremy Horn, which most people wrote off as a fluke.
Elvis Sinosic, victorious in his UFC debut.
Elvis went on to take epic beatings from Tito Ortiz, Alessio Sakara, Michael Bisping, and many more.
That's it.
He retired in 2007 with a record of 7 wins and 11 losses. Number 6. Wayne Weems. With 12 wins and only 2 losses, Wayne Weems doesn't seem likely to be a candidate for this list, until you watch him on The Ultimate Fighter Season 5.
Yeah, Wayne, I don't think he has too much skills. His stand-up game is not there. His ground game is not there. His endurance is not there.
Weems was demolished by Gray Maynard in just 2 minutes. The surprising lack of skill called his 12-2 record into question, as most of his opponents have never fought before. Number 5. Kimbo Slice. With 0 ground game, it's shocking Kimbo Slice has any MMA victories at all. Most of his early wins are suspected to be fixed fights, but that didn't stop the UFC from signing him to be on The Ultimate Fighter. Kimbo was easily beaten by French fry expert Roy Nelson via TKO. Kimbo also fought on The Ultimate Fighter Season 10 finale in a horrible showing against Houston Alexander. Kimbo gassed early and did almost nothing the entire fight.
This is just getting weird now. This is like over a minute of just spinning around in a circle.
But strangely enough was still awarded the decision win. Kimbo went on to lose his next fight against Matt Mitrione and was cut from the UFC. Number 4. Giant Silva. At 7 feet 2 inches tall, it's hard to believe how bad Giant Silva is at fighting. But you have to feel bad for him because he doesn't seem to want to fight and always takes a brutal beating.
And it is over, just like that.
Silva lost 6 of his 7 fights in Pride and retired in 2006 with the win over Akebono. Number 3. Jason Thacker. While training out of an abandoned garage in Canada, Jason Thacker received a call from the UFC with an offer to be on the very first season of The Ultimate Fighter.
You've struggled technically and physically since day one. You've almost become like a mascot for our team.
Thacker took on fellow castmate Chris Lieben and was quickly TKO'd in the first round. Thacker showed no evidence of a ground game or striking experience and hasn't fought since the loss in 2005. Number 2. Sean Gannon. Sean Gannon's claim to fame was a win over Kimbo Slice during a street fight around 2003. The UFC noticed his terrible striking and cardio and decided to sign him to fight against Brandon Lee Hinkle at UFC 55. Gannon was quickly taken to the ground and was on the receiving end of Hinkle's ground and pound. The fight was stopped in the first round and Gannon was never heard from again. Number 1. James Toney. James Toney was a former boxing champion with no MMA experience at all. So the UFC quickly signed him to a contract when Toney showed interest in competing in MMA.
Like I said, once he put his money where his mouth is, who's better, MMA or boxing?
Toney was matched against former UFC champion Randy Couture in what would barely be considered a fight. Toney was taken to the ground and he realized that he made a terrible mistake entering MMA. Toney was submitted early in the first round with an arm triangle and retired from the MMA.
I mean, this is what I kind of thought would happen, but I hoped it would be more competitive.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe.